Hi everyone, thanks for coming back for part 3. I had to take a break after the first 2 videos, but I wanted to go ahead and get back on because I have a few more tables that I haven't gone over yet that have the 10th month. And this is the one that I just did in my last video, but I have another one here that reads Yeshua 10th month, 7th month, wheat. And this one is coming up in Deuteronomy 16:8 through 16:14. And you see the word 7th over here. It's also talking about the 7th day, which would be the Sabbath in the text. But as far as the table, it could be referring to the 7th month. And you see over here the word month in the lavender with the letters M-O-N-T-H. You see Yeshua over here in the light red, the letters Y-E-S-H-U-A. And over here it says, well, first of all, it says, rejoice before Jehovah thy God, thou and thy son. And it's interesting that it says thy son right here crossing through Yeshua, the Y in Yeshua, and then it goes on to say, and thy daughter and thy manservant. It's telling everyone to rejoice, which is alluding to the, actually I don't believe this is alluding, this is actually speaking of the Feast of Tabernacles. And I'll actually go ahead and read the matrix so you can see how it reads, because this scripture right here is actually the one that's leading right up to the Feast of Tabernacles. It's right in between the Feast of Pentecost and the Feast of Tabernacles, and it starts out with unleavened bread and ends up with the Feast of Tabernacles. So I'm going to go ahead and read the matrix. It's saying, 6 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day shall be a solemn assembly to Jehovah thy God. Thou shalt do no work therein. 7 days shalt thou number unto thee from the time thou beginnest to put the sickle to the standing grain, shalt thou begin to number 7 weeks. And thou shalt keep the feast of weeks unto Jehovah thy God with a tribute of a free will offering of thy hand, which thou shalt give according as Jehovah thy God blesseth thee. And thou shalt rejoice before Jehovah thy God, thou and thy son and thy daughter, and thy manservant and thy maidservant, and the Levite that is within thy gates, and the sojourner, and the fatherless, and the widow that are in the midst of thee, in the place which Jehovah thy God shall choose to cause his name to dwell there. Okay, so this is talking about tabernacles. And this is where it said, rejoice before Jehovah thy God, and then it said thou and thy son and thy daughter and thy manservant, maidservant, and it went on to name everyone, and then it said, in the place which Jehovah thy God shall choose to cause his name to dwell there, or tabernacle there. Okay, this is interesting. I just looked at the Hebrew word just to see what the word that was translated as tabernacle in the ASV version, what that word was in the Hebrew. And it's actually this word right here, shakan. And this word actually means to dwell or to tabernacle. You see the word tabernacle right there. But it comes from this other word, which means shakab, that I've talked about, that comes up in Revelation 14, among other places. But this is talking about the consummation of the covenant. It's saying to lie down, and it has connotations of sexual relations, as you can see that here. So this would be referring to the consummation of the covenant. And it was coming over here in Deuteronomy 16:11, where it said, and thou shalt rejoice before Jehovah thy God, thou and thy son and thy daughter, and thy manservant, and thy maidservant, and the Levite that is within thy gates. And the Levites are the priests, and the sojourners, which would be the Gentiles, and the fatherless, and the widow, that are in the midst of thee, in the place which Jehovah thy God shall choose to cause his name to dwell, or tabernacle. And this word comes from the word shakab, which has connotations of sexual relations. So this would be referring not only to tabernacling with God, but it refers to the consummation of the covenant as well. And that word is coming right in here, right where you have the word Yeshua. See the word dwell right there, and it's right where you have Yeshua in the light red, the letters Y-E-S-H-U-A, and then the word tenth is going right through that in the pink with the letters T-E-N-T-H, and then you had month up here in the lavender, and I believe I already spelled that out. You also had seventh over here. It's talking about the seventh day, but as far as the text, it could also be referring to the seventh month, which would be the Hebrew month, and the Gentile month would be the 10th month. And then over here in the green, you have the word wheat with the letters W-H-E-A-T, and it's also saying rejoice over here where it has the word wheat. It says rejoice in thy feast, and this is talking about the Feast of Tabernacles. And I'll go ahead and read the rest of the matrix down here. It says, and thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondman in Egypt, and thou shalt observe and do these statutes. Thou shalt keep the Feast of Tabernacles 7 days after that thou hast gathered in from thy threshing floor and from thy winepress. And thou shalt rejoice in thy feast, thou and thy son and thy daughter and thy manservant and thy maidservant and the Levite and the sojourner and the fatherless and the widow that are within thy gates. So it's talking about rejoicing in the Feast of Tabernacles. It's talking about the threshing floor right here, and this is exactly where you have the wheat, the word wheat, encoded in ELS form here in the green, and you see threshing floor right on top of it. So that can't be by accident that wheat is encoded in ELS form right where it's talking about the threshing floor. Okay, so I'm going to go on to the next table now. In this one I put Messiah, return, 10th month, and 7. So you see the word return up here in the pink. You see the word month over here in the lavender going at an angle. And you see 10th meshed in with the word month. It's connected to the word return. So you see it in the lavender with the letters T, E, N, T, H, and then month goes right through the word 10th, and then 7 is right next to it. And right here it says, well, first of all, it says, they shall know that I am the Lord Jehovah, right here. And then it goes on to say, and it came to pass in the 7, and then it goes in 20th year, in the first month, in the first day of the month. And you see month right here, the letter H in the word month in the text is connected to the letter H in the word 10th. So you have 10th and month being joined together in the plain text and in ELS form, and the word month that's in the plain text is jutted right up against the word month that's coming up in ELS form at an angle, touching right against it. There's a T right in the middle, in between the two, but if it wasn't for that T, they would be touching each other. And the T is part of this phrase right here, which is the Word, which of course that would be Jesus. Jesus is the Word. And it says, the Word of Jehovah came unto me, saying, Son of man. And it's talking about Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, caused his army to serve a great service against Tyre. And Tyre is a type of Babylon. I can talk about that more in another table that I have up here. And so this is coming up in Ezekiel 29, verses 14 through 19. So I'll just go ahead and read that real quick. It says, And I will bring back the captivity of Egypt, and will cause them to return into the land of Pathros, into the land of their birth, and they shall be there a base kingdom. It shall be the basest of kingdoms, neither shall it any more lift itself up above the nations, and I will diminish them, and they shall no more rule over the nations. And Egypt is also a type of the world system, or Babylon. And it shall be no more the confidence of the house of Israel, bringing iniquity into remembrance, when they turn to look after them, and they shall know that I am the Lord Jehovah. And it came to pass in the 27th year, in the first month, in the first day of the month, the word of Jehovah came unto me, saying. And actually the 27th year, I was thinking about that, because actually the year 2016 could actually reduce to 27, because you could add the 1 and the 6 together, and then if you remove the 0, you'd be left with 27. So it could be a way of reducing the year 2016 to the number 27. And then it goes on to say, Son of man, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, caused his army to serve a great service against Tyre. Every head was made bald, and every shoulder was worn. Yet he had no wages, nor his army from Tyre, for the service that he had served against it. Therefore thus saith the Lord Jehovah, Behold, I will give the land of Egypt unto Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and he shall carry off her multitude, and take her spoil, and take her prey, and it shall be the wages for his army. So this is sounding like a precursor to the fall of Babylon as well. Okay, so I'm going to go on to the next one. In this one I put Shiloh come 10th month. And you see the word Shiloh coming up in the plain text over here. You see the word 10th going right through the word Shiloh in the lavender with the letters T, E, N, T, H. And then you see month going almost at an angle right here. It's almost straight up and down, but a slight angle. The letters M, O, N, T, H. And then the word come is coming up in the plain text in the pink over here. Okay, and I'm about out of time, so I don't think I'm going to have time to read the matrix in this table. But it's interesting that right over here, right next to the word month, it says in the field of wheat and barley. Also wanted to make a correction before I end this video. Earlier I had said that the word shakab was coming up in Revelation 14, but I actually meant to say it was coming up in Isaiah 14. And also just want to apologize for the unprofessionalism. I actually hadn't had a chance to review these tables prior to going over them in the video. I just wanted to get them out as soon as possible because of the essence of time. And I'm sorry if it sounded unprofessional, but I was actually just noticing all these things about the tables as I was going over them. So I'm really sorry about that. And thank you for watching these videos, and God bless you all.